And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
That's football is great, soccer is dumb.com. Goodbye.
It is time for the Super Bowl!
We are currently in a golden age of Super Bowls and you don't even know it. While yes, you may think that the Super Bowl is always great, it's always the best time of the year, it's actually not. Through 58 Super Bowls, we've had a game as close as a team winning by just 1 point. But we also have games where the team won by 45 points. If you win by 45 points, it's just not that good of a game. And the average win by in the Super Bowl is actually 13 points, almost 2 possessions. So what I have done is I have compiled all of the Super Bowls, all the scores, and the win bys.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
And then I have charted it out. I have given grades for each. So an A+ is 3 or less points. This is because it's about as exciting as it can get. Then I put an A as 4 to 8 points. This is because, quite similarly, at any point, a touchdown and a 2-point conversion can tie or win the game. So, even at the very last second, there is excitement. Like, for example, the 8-point game, the Eagles versus the Patriots, where the Eagles won. They were up by 8, but Tom Brady threw a Hail Mary with under a minute to go.
Escapes the sack, launching one for the end zone. It's a jump ball and it's incomplete.
And everyone had to hold their breath because if they caught it and got a 2-point conversion, the game would go to overtime and who knows what would have happened. Well, actually, it's Tom Brady, so I think I know what probably would have happened. But thankfully that didn't happen, and the Eagles secured their one and only Super Bowl victory. I then have my B rankings, which are 2 possessions, C, which is 3 possessions, D, you probably would never guess it, but 4 possessions, and then an F is more than 4 possessions. So now that you know the grading, time to analyze. So first, here are the colors. The greener it is, the better. The more like red it is, the worse. So you'll notice, even though a lot of people talk like the glory days of the NFL was in the 80s and 90s, this was actually probably the worst time for the Super Bowl ever. For example, in the 80s, every other year there was an F. Every other year a team was blowing the team out in the Super Bowl. That means even diehard fans probably didn't want to watch the second half. While the teams might have been dominant, the games were just not good. In order to find out what decade has truly had the best Super Bowls, I will go decade by decade. So to start it off, the 60s, this is not quite fair because, well, there were only 3, but there were some good ones and some bad ones. The Super Bowl started off bad with the Packers just dominating the Chiefs by 25 points. However, it recovered, and by the third year, it was a B+, with the Jets only winning by 9. So it was okay. But I bet after the first year, the NFC teams just thought they would always dominate the AFC teams. And they did for a long time. Please consider liking and subscribing and commenting down below. Been really trying to grow this channel, but back to the video. The 1970s, the first heyday of the NFL, was actually a very good year for Super Bowls. While there is only one A+ game, the Baltimore Colts versus the Dallas Cowboys, there were several A's and B's. This means if it's a 2-possession game, even with a quarter left, you're still really into it. All it takes is touchdown, stop, touchdown, and you tied or you're up or whatever. So in this one, the games have drastically improved in consistency, and this helps. You'll also notice that there were some dynasties building, for example, with the Steelers winning 3 of them. Then the 1980s, as I had mentioned earlier, there's a stretch of rough ones and a few decent ones, but having 3 games that are over 4 possessions is crazy. I just don't know why you would even watch these, so I guess I'll just move on. And not to say there weren't good games in this time. For example, I know the 49ers and the Bengals probably had some really good Super Bowls, but as a whole for the decade, it was just not a quality game. This carried on a bit into the 90s with just 2 F games. However, this consistency is just not there. Once again, lots of Bs, lots of Cs, just 2 As, just 2 one-possession games in the 90s. What they do have going for it is that they had the only game that was settled by 1 point, which was the Buffalo Bills, that tragic incident. But the rest of the games, only 2 one-possession games, it's just not quality entertainment. And while, as I've said, if you're a fan of the team, great, but if you're not, But everything is just about to change. In the 2000s, this is potentially the golden years of the NFL, although I would argue the 2020s will be better, and is better so far. There are only 2 games that are over 2 possession games, so there's 2 blowouts. There are 4 games, including 3 out of 4 games, which is the first 3 Super Bowl wins for the Patriots, are all 3-point games. How much closer can you want? You have a dynasty building, which always brings in a lot of fans, whether to hate watch or fan watch, but also they're great. These are won on last-second field goals. These could be tied with last-second field goals. There's so much drama and entertainment. You even have the Patriots cheating, so you can root against them. And this is just great Super Bowls. You even started off with the greatest show on turf, the Rams, exciting offense, even though the score's not that high. It's before my time, so I haven't seen it. So I guess not that exciting of an offense, only scoring 23 points, but still a good game. And you also have old powerhouses like the Steelers, who have one of the biggest fan bases in the NFL, continued success in close games. For example, their game against the Cardinals is just one of the best Super Bowls there's been. There's also the Giants' huge upset over the Patriots. This was an excellent decade of Super Bowls. Then the 2010s. This is probably the most consistent decade we have had. There was only 1 blowout when the Broncos got slaughtered by the Seahawks. And while that was not fun to watch, it's really the only blowout that I've watched on TV. And I remember at halftime, I was done with it. And that's as a super diehard NFL fan. But every single one of the rest of the years were within 2 possessions, and 6 of them were within 1 possession. This was just an excellent, consistent time. When you're going to watch the Super Bowl, you're going to get a close game. You can't stop watching at halftime. You can't stop watching at the end of the 3rd quarter. It's going to be a good game. Even if a team is up, like the Falcons, the team has a chance to come back. And that's just why the Super Bowl is great. That's why the NFL is great. It's just pure entertainment for 4 hours, I guess, is about how long the Super Bowl lasts. But 2010s does have an argument. Definitely the most consistent time to watch the Super Bowl. And then finally, the 2020s. So yes, we are only about halfway through these, but it's been very solid so far, and we are on a great stretch. Started off with the Chiefs 49ers. That was a B+. It was an 11-point game, but it was close. It was a good game. Then the next year, Chiefs got blown out by the Buccaneers. Well, it did have all the headlines of Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, and all of that. It was not a very good game. However, I would say Patrick Mahomes did have me believing they might come back. He did pull off some crazy things. But the next 3 years have all been 3-point games involving last-second field goals and just crazy games, including an overtime game. How can it get better than that? So now that I've gone over them, I did give them a bit of a grading scale. So I gave these a grading point average based on the A through F range, and then I mathematically will see what's the highest rated decade. And if you go by average, which is not exactly fair to the 2020s because it's only just started, but So far, the best decade ever is the 2020s, and it has a 3.66 out of a 4.0 grade scale. So that's about as good as it gets. Second place and third place are the 2000s and 2010s. So as you could probably tell just looking at it, the past 25 years of Super Bowls have just been great. And then I also have the average win-by totals for a game per year. And you'll see once again the 2020s are the lowest, an average win total of 8.4 points. And the 2010s and 2000s are both about 10 points, which is far ahead of the 80s and 90s, which really, the Super Bowl is just not that good. So, whether they're rigging the games or what, whether it's Buffalo Wild Wings, they're doing a good job because the Super Bowl, the past 25 years, has been great. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like, a comment, and subscribing to my channel for more NFL content, and I will see you later.